According to Jewish tradition, the Messiah will enter Jerusalem through this gate. It's the only eastern gate of the Temple Mount. It has been blocked and sealed like this for close to 2,000 years. No one can go through the gate and enter Temple Mount from here. Just 3 days ago, a security camera in Jerusalem captured something that shouldn't be possible. Right at the eastern gate, very God 3 major religions believe will remain sealed until the Messiah returns. The footage has already been analyzed by archaeologists, seismologists from Tel Aviv University, and even intelligence agencies. And here's the part no one can explain. The stone is moving. But what truly has authorities on edge is what they discovered when they looked deeper. There's another gate beneath it, and the story doesn't begin with the footage. It begins decades earlier. Back in 1969, archaeologist James Fleming was documenting the Eastern Gate when the ground suddenly collapsed beneath him. He fell nearly 8 feet into darkness. When he turned on his flashlight, he saw something impossible. A second gate, buried directly underneath the one above. Older, hidden. A gateway beneath a gateway. Think about that. 2 gates stacked in the same place. One tied to the past, and one still waiting for the future. The lower structure dated back to the exact era when the prophecy speaks of a king entering Jerusalem on a donkey, a moment many connect to Jesus Christ, which means the sealed gate we see today isn't the original. It's the second gate. According to ancient traditions, this is the one meant for a future arrival. In Jewish belief, the Messiah will enter through this very gate. Its sealing is said to delay that moment. Even more striking, the buried gate aligns precisely with ancient maps linked to the visions of Ezekiel describing a path where divine presence once departed and may one day return. And now something strange is happening there again. A tour guide named Sarah Chen, who has worked on the Temple Mount for over 15 years, noticed it first 3 days ago during a sunrise tour. She suddenly stopped, placed her hand on the stone and froze. She later said, "I've touched that wall thousands of times. But this time it felt warm from the inside. Not from sunlight. The sun hadn't even reached that side yet." She described it as a pulse. She's not the only one. At least 17 witnesses have reported similar experiences in the past week. Security guards are avoiding this area at night. Even animals, Jerusalem. Stray cats are staying away. Something is changing, and now there's footage. To understand why this matters, why leaders from multiple religions are reportedly paying attention, you need to understand what this gate represents. It's not just stone, it sits along a precise line, a sacred axis, running from the Mount of Olives, across the valley straight through the gate, to the place once believed to be the Holy of Holies. A path written into history and prophecy, and now that path might be active again. If you want more real mysteries like this, hit like, subscribe now, because what's coming next might be even more unbelievable. Everything starts with a vision. Prophet Ezekiel once described something extraordinary. He saw the presence of God leaving the temple. It didn't just vanish, it followed a path moving through the eastern gate, crossing the valley and resting on the Mount of Olives. It was a moment of departure, divine exit. But that wasn't the end of what he saw. Because in the same vision, that presence returns, coming back from the east, re-entering through that very same gate. And with it came a warning, and that still echoes today. That gate would remain sealed not by human choice, but by divine command. So then the question becomes, why did Suleiman the Magnificent order it shut in 1541? Because he knew the prophecy and he didn't want to take chances. Jewish tradition claimed the Messiah would enter through that gate. Christian belief said Christ himself would return the same way. So Suleiman sealed it permanently, but he didn't stop there. He placed a cemetery right in front of it. In Islamic law, a holy man or priest would be defiled by walking through graves. In his mind, that meant no Messiah could ever cross that path. It looked like a perfect move, but history had other plans. Within a year, everything around him began to collapse. His own son died unexpectedly. His most trusted advisor was executed, and the expansion of his empire suddenly stopped. It's almost as if the one Trying to block prophecy became part of it, because by sealing the gate, he may have unknowingly fulfilled the very words he feared. And ever since then, no one has dared open it, even in 1967, during the Six-Day War when Israeli forces took control of Jerusalem. Some soldiers considered blowing the gate open, but Goren stopped them. He warned, that gate is not for man to open, so it stayed sealed. But here's where things get unsettling. Some records from the time Suleiman sealed the gate still exist hidden in Ottoman archives, and they've never been fully released, which raises a disturbing question. What did his builders actually find when they closed it? Because now, centuries later, something is happening again. Recently, a photographer captured something that shouldn't be possible. Frame by frame, inside solid stone, a shape begins to appear. Not in front of the gate, not behind it. Inside it. At first, it's barely visible like a shadow, but with each frame, it becomes clearer, more defined, almost human. Experts check the footage. Glitches, no editing, no camera errors. And then it got worse. Other cameras, different angles, different nights started picking up similar forms. Tall, human-like figures moving through walls. Invisible to the eye, but visible on recording. They don't wander randomly. They all move toward one place. The Eastern Gate. They don't just pass by. They gather and wait. That's when scientists were brought in. A seismologist from Tel Aviv University analyzed vibrations near the site. What she found didn't match earthquakes or construction. It was rhythmic, a steady pulse, 72 beats per minute. Exactly like a human heartbeat. The ground beneath the gate is pulsing, and it's getting stronger. Chains nearby have started to tremble. The stone feels warm to the touch, and cracks, once slow, are now spreading faster than ever. Centuries ago, Knight wrote that each stone in that gate was like a clock counting down. Today, almost every stone is fractured. Only a few remain. So now the question isn't just what's happening, it's how close we are to whatever comes next. If this pattern keeps accelerating, the final fracture, the 889th stone, could break in under 40 days. And here's where it gets eerie. In Hebrew numerology, 889 translates to a phrase meaning the king's opening. Let that sink in. Now, go back to the scans. Ground-penetrating radar aimed at the sealed gate has revealed empty chambers behind the stone, spaces that shouldn't even exist. When mapped, these voids form a shape. Ancient writings describe as the footprint of God, but no one is digging. Religious law forbids it. Politics prevents it. So whatever is behind that wall stays hidden, for now. But the surface is already changing. Remember the cemetery placed in front of the gate centuries ago? For over 500 years, nothing disturbed those graves until recently. In the last 6 months, survey equipment has captured something impossible. Those graves are sinking. Not collapsing randomly, not eroding. They are descending straight down, evenly, like something beneath them is clearing space. A caretaker named Ahmad Rashid, whose family has watched over that site for generations, noticed it first. He touched one grave, it shifted. Then another, all sinking. 23 graves so far perfectly aligned, forming a direct path from the Mount of Olives straight to the gate. Each one has dropped exactly 7 feet, 7, the number of completion. Now look across the valley. The Mount of Olives is cracking. Not symbolically, physically. A visible split running east to west, directly in line with the gate. And something else. The olive trees along that fracture are blooming out of season. Fresh white blossoms when they should be harvested. Locals say the scent in the air smells like frankincense. The last time anything like this was recorded around 70 AD, just before the destruction of the temple. So, now you have a path clearing a mountain, splitting, and something building behind a sealed gate. And then things get even stranger. 3 months ago, a doctor in Tel Aviv encountered a case she couldn't explain. A man with terminal cancer, weeks to live, collapsed after walking near the gate. The next day, No trace of disease, not reduced, not healing, gone completely erased. At first she assumed error, but then it happened again and again. 47 cases so far. Every patient passed near the same location. Everyone experienced instant cellular restoration, but that wasn't the real shock. Their DNA changed. Dormant genetic sequences once thought useless suddenly activated. People needed less sleep. Memory became flawless. Aging markers stopped. The doctor described it in one line. This isn't evolution, it's restoration. At the same time, something else began happening across the world. In multiple countries, young children started singing. Not random songs, the same song, same melody, same rhythm, same words. In an ancient form of Hebrew not spoken for over 2,000 years. They were never taught it. Yet they sang it perfectly. The translation opened the gates of righteousness. The king approaches his throne. No more waiting. Researchers compared recordings from different continents. They weren't just similar, they were identical. Even brain scans showed synchronized activity, as if every child was connected to the same signal. And after the singing, the children began speaking, predicting events, dates, disasters, details no child should know. And every signal, every anomaly, every pattern points back to one place, the Eastern Gate. The cracks are spreading, the ground is moving, the recordings are still coming in, and whatever is behind that gate is getting closer. Step back for a second and look at the full picture. In 1244 AD, a Templar knight counted exactly 889 stones and began tracking fractures over time. Today, the number stands at 887. A scientist detects a steady 72-beat pulse behind solid stone. A camera captures a figure forming inside the wall frame by frame. Graves meant to block prophecy are sinking, forming a path straight to the entrance. The Mount of Olives is physically splitting along an ancient line. And across the world, children are singing in a language dead for over 2,500 years, declaring that the gate is opening. Ancient relics, bones of martyrs, are showing signs of warmth and regeneration. This isn't random, it's alignment. Everything pointing to one place. And then something happened in Ethiopia. The lone guardian of the Ark, silent for decades, broke that silence. His message was simple. Bring it back to Jerusalem, the gate is ready. Soon after, satellite data reportedly showed preparations for transporting something massive, shielded, protected, something dangerous, because those who have been near the Ark describe it the same way. Not symbolic, not ceremonial, but powerful. Lethal energy to anyone unprotected. And here's the part that raises eyebrows. That same energy signature has now been detected beneath the Eastern Gate. At CERN, a physicist analyzed the seismic data from Jerusalem. Her conclusion, everything is syncing not just locally, globally. Like reality itself is locking into a single rhythm. And that rhythm isn't coming from the earth, it's passing through it. Then there's Joseph Berger. He recalls something his father told him decades ago. When the stones begin to weep, count 40 days. Recently through the sealed gate, but it hadn't rained. Tests revealed something chilling. The liquid matched the composition of human tears. Count forward 40 days. And you land on a day of atonement, a moment tied to judgment and return. Now go back to the footage. Early morning, 3:33 a.m. The stones begin to move, not breaking, not shifting randomly, breathing, expanding, contracting like something alive is pressing from the other side. Nearby chains swing outward without wind. Temperature spikes suddenly, then drops like a pulse. Then comes the sky. A pilot flying over Jerusalem reports seeing something impossible. For a few seconds, a structure appears, where only the dome of the rock should be. Not a reflection, not a glitch, a solid structure visible, measurable, then gone. 17 pilots have reported the same thing, same time, same shape. A structure matching ancient descriptions of a future temple. Meanwhile, psychologists studying unusual behavior in the city are noticing something different. People aren't claiming visions. They're not acting irrationally. They're just standing there facing the gate, silent, watching as if they're waiting for something they know is coming. And when they leave, they're completely normal again. So now, look at everything together. The cracks are increasing, the ground is clearing, the mountain is splitting, the relics are reacting. The children are singing. The instruments are detecting the same signal, all focused on one sealed threshold. And whatever is behind that gate hasn't just appeared, it's been waiting. At this point, the question isn't whether something is happening at the gate, it's what is waiting on the other side. Step back and look at everything together. In 1244 AD, a Templar knight carefully counted 889 stones in the eastern gate and began tracking the cracks. Today, that number has reached 887, a slow countdown now accelerating. A seismologist detects a steady 72-beat pulse coming from behind the sealed wall. Not random vibrations, something rhythmic, almost alive. A photographer captures 17 frames, showing a figure forming inside solid stone, becoming clearer with each image. Meanwhile, the graves placed centuries ago to block the Messiah are sinking, not collapsing, lowering perfectly, forming a straight path toward the gate. Across the valley, the Mount of Olives is splitting along an ancient east-to-west line. And around the world, children thousands of miles apart are singing the same song in a language that hasn't been spoken for over 2,500 years, declaring that the gate is about to open. At the same time, relics once thought lifeless, bones of martyrs are showing signs of warmth and change after centuries of silence. This isn't coincidence, it's convergence. Every sign pointing to one place. Then, something unexpected happens in Ethiopia. The guardian of the Ark of the Covenant, silent for decades, steps forward with a message: return it to Jerusalem. The gate is preparing. Soon after, satellite data suggests movement preparations to transport something massive, heavily shielded. Because those who have been near the Ark describe it as more than symbolic. They describe energy powerful enough to harm anyone unprotected. And now that same energy signature has been detected beneath the eastern gate. At CERN, a physicist analyzes the seismic data. Her conclusion is unsettling. Everything is synchronizing, not just in Jerusalem, but globally, as if reality itself is aligning to a single rhythm. And that rhythm isn't coming from Earth, it's passing through it. Then comes another detail. Josef Berger recalls a warning passed down for generations. When the stones begin to weep, count 40 days. Recently, moisture appeared on the sealed gate, but there had been no rain. Tests showed something chilling. It matched the composition of human tears. 40 days from that moment leads to a day tied to judgment and atonement. Now return to the footage. Early morning, 3:33 a.m. The stones begin to move, not cracking randomly, breathing, expanding, and contracting like something alive is pushing from the other side. Chains nearby swing without wind. Temperature spikes, then drops like a pulse passing through. Above the city, a pilot flying over Jerusalem sees something impossible. For a few seconds, a structure appears where only the dome of the rock should be. Solid, three-dimensional, visible on radar. Then it disappears. 17 similar reports have been logged all at dawn, all describing the same structure. Meanwhile, people gathering near the gate show no signs of panic or delusion. They don't speak. They don't react. They just stand watching, as if they're waiting for something they can feel but not explain. Now put it all together. The cracks are increasing. The ground is clearing, the mountain is splitting. The relics are responding. The children already know the words. Every signal, every measurement, every witness points to one sealed gate. And whatever is behind it has been waiting for a very long time. Like this video and subscribe now. If you want more hidden mysteries, ancient secrets, and stories the world can't explain,